And welcome to the show, Our Islam and Community Issues. Today, we have, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we have the fantastic Tana. Yasu. I always mess up her name, so hopefully, she doesn't hold that against me. We're very blessed to have you here today. You're a person who does a lot of work in the community. Sometimes I look at your stuff that you do in the community and I get tired, so I want you sometimes to decompress, take a deep breath, and, get your rest that you need. Tell the audience just a bit about yourself.
All right. Well, I'm Tana Yasu. I am born and raised in Seattle, and I am an entrepreneur by trade, a stylist and designer. But I became involved in community activation and community work several years ago, and like I say, it's no shortage of things to do and get involved with. I got involved with the Seattle Women's Commission and the Arts District, the Historic Central Area Arts and Cultural District, which helped inspire me to start my own organization in honor of my great uncle, Joe Brazil. So then there's Joe Brazil Legacy, and I've just made so many great connections in the community by being active.
Okay, well, that was good. That was to the point, but there's much more, much more. One of the things, let's just talk about the movie The Woman King.
Yes.
Now, I know I looked on Facebook and there were people criticizing it, and I said, well, what's up? And, this starred Viola Davis and everything. So I am wondering if the people saw the movie in the first place that were criticizing. What did you think about the movie?
Yes, well, that is something I was excited about, seeing the movie come out, and I reached out to you because I know that you have done movie critiques on your show before, and I used to love watching them so much, and I just really wanted to kind of find a way to plug in and bring that back. So I'm honored that when I made the call, you were receptive to it, and we are here today, and this is what we're going to talk about, The Woman King. So yes, before I even saw it, as it was coming out, I saw pushback immediately, and it was obvious to me that maybe the people hadn't even seen it. They just see Woman King, and so it immediately went to this, woman can't be king, and, the barriers and the pushback, and so that was a little disturbing, because if you study history, you would realize and know that these titles, king, it's a title, it's a birthright, and there have been woman kings, so to speak. It just was a little surprising.
It's interesting. And I'll just say this, some black folks you just can't please no matter what, because I watched the movie and I wanted to cry and I wanted to cheer, Now, I know everything was not historically accurate, it's a movie, but I was talking to a friend of mine today, and I asked him what he thought about it. He said, man, I took my I believe it's his niece to it, and she's like 4. And I thought that would be kind of tough on her. He said after the movie, she came back, she got serious. She's not playing, and she had more self-esteem and all this kind of stuff. And she's like only 4. Imagine what she's going to be like when she's 18 or 21.
Representation is everything. And that's just something from Hollywood we have not seen. There was comments, Viola Davis, I had seen on a video where that was her thing, was like, when she got into the acting, and she was inspired by Cicely Tyson, and she wanted to kind of have that effect. But Hollywood was not conducive to positive or powerful images of black women. So Viola Davis has been breaking down barriers, kicking in doors, and now she knows how to use the weapons to do even more. So, but to your point, also you said this is a story, and the confusion some people had is it's unfortunate that the general public might feel like this movie is how we're learning, and it's like, this is Hollywood.
Right.
This is not a documentary. This is a story.
A story.
And so there's a lot of creative license taken with it, and so hopefully it will start some conversations in the community and get people wanting to talk about these things on a deeper level. But at the surface, like you said, even a 4-year-old can pick that up and run with it and be feeling empowered and ready to just be her super strong self.
And one of the critics, so I don't forget this, write that down, they were saying that they didn't bring up slavery. It's like, you really didn't watch this movie. You really did not watch this movie. It talked about slavery throughout the movie. And it talked about, hopefully it's not a spoiler for people who haven't seen it, but it talked about how this particular tribe, had slaves. And that, Viola Davis, her character was trying to end that with their particular tribe. But that really caught me off guard when they said they didn't deal with slavery. I mean, you saw it.
Probably that was a colonized mind, not seeing, slaves and what you might usually expect when you see this a movie that, they probably did expect to see more of the chattel slavery happening and that trauma and what we're accustomed to when you see, like, say, 12 Years a Slave or Django and things like that, and you see the people in their enslaved roles.
Right. You didn't see it over. You didn't see the part in the United States. You just saw it over there in Africa.
It just wasn't ultimately about slavery. The movie is about these women warriors.
And when you say that, there was the West African kingdom of, how do you pronounce it?
I say Dahomey.
I'll go with that.
I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Yeah, they were like at least 6,000 strong, and the Europeans called them Amazon due to their similarities to the warrior women of Greek myth. Keyword, myth.
Boy, yes. Once again, the Greeks would come to Africa to learn, and then they would sometimes, obviously would take what they learned, and who wouldn't want to, put it to themselves. So actually, I believe the Amazon, I think there was probably a Greek island of Lesbos or something. So you did have Greek women warriors, I'm sure. I haven't studied deep in there. But the juxtaposition of, that reminds us of the Greeks. And it's like, no, actually the Greeks are reminding you of the Africans.
Of that,
So it's always going to be that turnaround. I mean, things were happening in Africa tens of thousands of years.
Right, exactly.
And so Africa was the place people would come to learn and then go back out. And so much of our technology, our institutions, even the universities in the United States today and their robes and all the wigs and stuff they might wear for that pomp and circumstance of ceremony or rituals, that stuff came from Africa, to be sure.
Exactly.
So I did take some notes from the IMBD for the film, and it did say it's a historical epic inspired by true events that took place in the kingdom of Dahomey, one of the most powerful states of Africa in the 18th and 19th centuries. So they were like large suppliers to the transatlantic slave trade. So that's just what it is.
That's what it is. It is what it is. You follow the truth. It was, like I said, parts I wanted to cry and cheer. And what was good is that these characters in the movie, they were complex. It wasn't just, it was just, boom, boom. They had complex, characteristics, and that made it, I think, even better because you felt for each individual. At least I did. That was in the movie.
Yes.
Yeah. And what a parallel that I kind of make is of the women in the Black Panther Party, because they were warriors.
Yes.
They were warriors, and a lot of people don't know that most of the members of the Black Panther Party were women, and they did the same work as men. So it wasn't like they were regulated to the kitchen or whatever. You know, men were on guard duty, so were men. I mean, so were women.
Women and men.
And this type of thing. One thing I would just want to go, when talking about black films, when Black Panther came out, the movie Black Panther, there again, black folks were saying, well, the Black Panther movie, the comic book was started by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. Yeah, that was in the late 60s, if I recall, early 70s. But, we're never satisfied. I mean, there are times when other folks make stuff about us, we can criticize, but, that gave us, an into the Marvel world, and but they had the black directors, costumes and all that kind of stuff. So it's kind of hard to please us. You ever find that?
Well, there's levels.
Yes, there's levels.
Basically, and so what my take on that is that the people that created the cartoon or the comics of the Black Panther, they were obviously inspired by the Black Panther and the Black Panthers, the Black Panther Party, and the Black Power movement. I feel like perhaps that person was inspired by what he saw and used it in his creativity and actually created a positive image, of a black superhero. Right. Did we have a black superhero before that?
There were some African American comics, but you wouldn't know of it because, again, it's like buried in history. But there's been those. This brought it out. And then the movie, how the movie was, done. It was done so well till, you saw, young African American kids, Wakanda, and everything, all the good stuff like that. So it's had positive influence. So I try to say, there's things you could criticize, but I mean, it had more positive than negative.
Well, the thing too is that it was fantasy.
Right.
And it's almost like it was more readily accepted, this fantasy.
Right.
And here you have, coming back to Woman King, you have something that is inspired by true history, and it's like, well, that's a little, less acceptable.
Yeah.
It speaks to what I call internalized racism, or the term of internalized racism that, we're sticking with Woman King for now.
For now.
Because they're just like two different things. You got your fantasy and your true historical inspired movie. The only gripe I really had, I feel like the cinematography was great. The acting was obviously awesome. You got an Oscar award winning. This is historical and epic in itself. This is a women directors, writers, stars. I mean, this is like a powerful for women, which will bring us back to these women of this Black Panther Party. But the being able to, my only gripe, that's where I was going, was that it was great, but I didn't like the fact that no one in the kingdom of Dahomey wore shoes.
I knew you were going to say that. Yeah, they wore shoes, yeah.
And someone had posted about that, they posted something on social media, and I was like, no, the movie's great. The only thing I didn't like was that they didn't have shoes on in the whole kingdom, really? And I got pushed back of people saying what I feel might be internalized racism. Oh no, they didn't wear shoes, they didn't need shoes, this and that. I'm like, hold on now. You're talking about people that built pyramids,
right?
And you're talking about warriors. They're out here with sharp stuff, and even with that, okay, you're blacksmithing. I mean, just when you think about all the things,
stuff, yeah.
You're talking about a civilization that was doing brain surgeries thousands of years ago, from what I have read.
Right,
You know,
right.
medicine, they founded medicine, they founded science, they founded math. They built all these structures that are still up today that we don't know how they did it with no shoes on. No, I'm
Exactly.
just like, okay, so that just speaks to me when I say internalized racism, because what we've been told for centuries here, you come from, you're slaves, you come from dark Africa that contributed nothing to
Nothing to
society
society,
until
yeah.
Europe came and shined the light, which we know that's backwards, because actually the Moors are the ones that went and saved Europe from the Dark Ages. So stuff just got spun around.
Right.
And so for other African Americans to be kind of arguing me down about the fact that Africans don't need shoes, and I'm like, this is really embarrassing me
Yeah.
to my African friends that people are saying this. I'm like, how do you think that makes our people feel? And because you know, they say in the medical, our problem with racism in medicine has been dealing with pain. So if
Right.
you're saying they don't need shoes, I mean, excuse me, let something happen to your pinky toe. Right now today, you're going down.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's just kind of common sense and doesn't take a lot of study. But this was like a major conversation on
yeah.
Facebook based on me saying
Oh, yeah.
they should have had some shoes.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes I don't even argue with people on Facebook because it just goes around and around. Well, like I said, yeah, it was, like I said, the movie, there were points where I wanted to cry in the chair, and I thought, you know, it was very well done. Let's kind of talk about your work with the Seattle Women's Commission, and you are the chair?
Yes, I have became the chair of the Seattle Women's Commission in July, and I always have to. I like to make sure I get this right because
I
it's
got you.
it's kind of a lot. The Seattle Women's Commission, basically what we do in a nutshell is we advise the mayor, city council, and city departments on issues that impact women of Seattle. We identify areas of concern and make recommendations on policy and legislation. We act as a liaison between the women of Seattle and city government.
Okay.
So, and it is volunteer, and it's a term of up to 6 years. You get two-year terms, and you can do it 3 times.
Okay.
And if you're going to be in leadership, be a chair, you get 2 years of that. And so this is actually my first year. I was co-chair with 3 other women.
Okay.
And now it's just me, the chair,
just you, huh?
holding a lot of responsibility. But I'm glad it's given me access to some very important, vital information. Especially for this month, which is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And so I've been able to work with other commissions and community organizations to shine a light on that, because that is obviously one of the issues that affect women in Seattle and around the world. So
Definitely.
Yes.
Yeah. So in that, so let's talk about domestic violence a little bit, you know, and I'll just let you go how you want to, you know, just talk about that.
All right. Well, domestic violence is a horrible thing that is prevalent. It doesn't matter. It hits everybody, and people don't really probably think about it before the 80s. I would say it wasn't even necessarily a thing. It wasn't considered a social issue. Say before 1980, if a husband and wife was having issues, and it got out of hand, and neighbors might call the police in, or someone called the police might come and say, hey, you know, you all need to kind of keep it down. You're disturbing the neighbors, and would just kind of gloss over, or they, depending on, you know, take the man out. But there was like never any laws to really protect the women or children or anyone, because like I said, domestic violence can affect anyone. It could be men getting violence done upon them. It can be elders. It can be, you know, almost anybody. So that's not the thing. But since the 80s, and when domestic violence became recognized as a social issue, so then more work got put behind it to help and put a stop to it. But it's usually surrounded in many things. There might be mental illness, drug abuse, drug alcoholism, things of that nature that make it's always more than just, say, this violent incident that happens between partners or to children. Yeah. And we are having an event. Something that happens, domestic violence goes underreported because many people don't report because of stigma. They might feel embarrassed, or family tradition or cultural traditions might say, don't call, don't get people involved. What happens in this house stays in this house, and things of that nature. And so, so what we are aiming to do on the commission, we're having an event on Saturday, October 15th at City Hall in Seattle, which is at 600 and 4th Avenue. And we're having an event, and its theme is shattering stigma through knowledge. And so the purpose of this event is to dispel some of those untruths about domestic violence and give victims knowledge and access to services. So that's going to be from 12 o'clock to 4 o'clock at City Hall, and there will be food, refreshments, and childcare even available. One of the organizations that are coming is even with it's a deaf domestic violence agency, and so there will be interpreters there, and we have an indigenous group coming. So we're just trying to have a plethora so that it's even culturally specific to reach out and give information and share knowledge. And we're even going to have a job fair because sometimes, there's some people that a job recruiter and some companies like in this new industry, this green industry that's coming out, it's new. So I'm trying to connect folks with information about, once you get out of this situation, then you might need to sustain yourself, because a lot of times the breadwinner is the abuser. So when you get out of that situation, and especially think if you're a mother with children, now you have to start this new life, and you have to support yourself. And so a typical minimum wage job might not be enough, especially in Washington, probably anywhere in the world now. But to be able to get some training and access to training and education to be able to sustain yourself is important. So that's also even part of this event, and even mental health, PTSD, depression, anxiety, all those things that go along with the trauma. And so I try to make sure we have a lot of the wraparound services organizations that'll be involved as well. So there'll be people there tabling with that, and we're also going to have more deeper, intimate discussions, and it will be in person and hybrid. So if anyone wants information, you can go to the Seattle Office of Civil Rights website, ocr.gov, or just look up Google Seattle Civil Rights Office, and there'll be more information on like how to log in virtually if that's how you would want to attend. And let's see, was there anything else on this note? Oh yeah, the commission liaison. So the Seattle Women's Commission's liaison at the Seattle Office of Civil Rights, her name is Marta Idowu, and her phone number is 206-684-4540. And then the website for Seattle Women's Commission is swc@seattle.gov. And I just wanted to say, since we're on that, there is a national line for domestic violence assistance. The National Domestic Violence Hotline phone number is 1-800-799-SAFE, which is 1-800-799-7233. But again, you can always reach out directly to the Seattle Women's Commission through Marta Idowu, and she can connect you with us, and we can connect you with some local advocates here in Seattle or throughout the state of Washington. to get immediate assistance, and we have done it, and so I'm always very proud of that. I mean, it's like I don't care how much money we have to spend for these events or whatever. You know, sometimes I might get I get questioned like, well, how many people do you think's gonna come, or do you think this and that? And I'm like, I don't care if one person gets this information and it saves their life.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not always looking for the big crowds to come. It's not that type of thing. You know, people have to be very covert and careful, because the most dangerous time in a domestic violence relationship, which never really ends well usually, is when they try to leave, because really it's about control. It's not always about the physical act. It's about this person controlling another person. And so that's why, you know, it could be anybody. They would use a child, or, you know, it's very horrible. Yeah. And so I know the women and so we can come back to the women of Black Panther Party too, because I know that, you know, they were very strong, and I've heard of incidents where sometimes the Black Panthers would have to come out and help people in their home with situations, and the Panthers would come and take care of things and not let domestic violence happen. There's like that's got to stop in our community. So I'm really
that was part of it. And then just real quickly, because we're going to close in a few moments, when back in the day when the prostitutes, like on 14th and Yasu and so forth, they were having trouble with their pimps. A few of the Panthers would go talk to the pimps one time. One time, and after that, there would be, you know, after that talking, if they went back to that, then it wouldn't happen anymore. That was back in the day. You can't do it now.
Yes.
But that was back in the day. And then, like you say, with domestic violence, some of the Panthers, there was a crew that would go talk to that person one time, and it better not happen again, you know. But those were days when you could do certain things. But I want to thank you so much for coming to the show and everything, and we really appreciate you as a person and your work. Thank you so much. And we thank the audience for watching, and if you can attend these events that are happening, please do. And we're on YouTube. Our YouTube it's a long one. It's Community Issues Group, Al Islam Center, Seattle. The name of our program here is Al Islam and Community Issues. And we thank the crew for being here and working with us today. Such a wonderful crew, very pleasant. We thank you for all your help. And we thank the listening audience. Thank you very much for watching. Peace and prayers.